Hey there, Jake here from CVP. In today's video, I want to talk through 5 things that relate to the image and workflow of Sony's brand new FX5 that we think are worth thinking about, especially if you're an FX3 user looking to upgrade. Let's get into it. The FX5 has a few different sensor modes. Across these different modes, the camera is using different portions of the sensor, so they will change in field of view slightly as you go between them. They also change what codecs you can choose from as well. Here's a quick chart of the different options you have. Full frame 5K 16:9 has loads of codecs to choose from, so I can imagine a lot of people are going to be sticking to this mode, but it's good that you have other options to choose from as well. When shooting in XAVC, you can only record in 4K, but the camera is using more than 4K in every mode except Super 35, which you can only record in HD currently. Here is a chart showing the different portions of the sensor being used in the different modes. You also, of course, have the ability to record the full 3x2 open gate of the sensor, which is a first for an FX series camera. Currently, it's only possible to record in X-OCN in 3x2, but Sony will be adding the ability to record in XAVC in a future firmware update. It's great to have this option for a range of reasons. I personally really like 3x2 as the delivery format, but it's also great for dual acquisition. More and more productions are requiring delivery of 9x16 and 16:9 videos. And having this additional height in the 3x2 mode allows you to frame with this in mind. And for this dual delivery, it's really helpful. It's also great for anamorphic shooting as you can use the full height of the sensor. This means that you aren't cropping off anywhere near as much as you would be if you could only record in 16:9, which is what was possible with the FX3. You'll be able to use a range of anamorphics on the FX5 as it has loads of internal D-squeeze options now as well, but 1.5 has become really popular with 3x2 acquisition. This is because you get a delivery aspect ratio of roughly 2.25 to 1, which doesn't require much cropping to get to popular anamorphic aspect ratios like 2.39 or 2 to 1. There are so many great affordable anamorphics on the market now, like the DZO Arcana and Blazar's offerings, and of course plenty of high-end anamorphics like the Cooke AP3s and Atlas Mercury, which will all pair really well with this camera. How the FX5 handles frame rates is a little bit different to the FX3 as well. First off, you don't have a traditional PAL or NTSC setting in the menu. This is done in the project frame rate menu now. Here you can switch between the different base project frame rates, but switching between certain ones will reboot the camera. Here's a table that breaks down switching between the different project frame rates. If you want to see all the instances where the FX5 reboots, check out the video I made on my new personal channel. Instead of the slow and quick mode in the FX3, the FX5 has an FPS menu where you can switch between fixed and variable frame rates, and this is where you can go above and below your project frame rate. You can really dial in your frame rate here, and these clips will conform to your project's frame rate in camera. In this mode, you cannot record audio currently. You can actually bind FPS to a user button, and this means you can quickly switch between, say, 25 and 100 frames per second at the click of a button. It will actually remember your last set frame rate in variable. This variable frame rate option isn't available to use currently in X-OCN, just XAVC, which I'm hoping Sony will change. This means that you can't currently switch between say 25 and 50p in X-OCN quickly using the button. You still have to go into the menu and change the project frame rate. When shooting in the different project frame rates, they play back in real time at their given frame rate. So if you want to slow down say 50p RAW, you'll need to conform it in post, which is really easy to do. The high frame rate footage out of this camera is great. Here are the maximum frame rates across the camera currently, and the upgrades coming in Sony's future firmware, which looks awesome. 4K 240 frames is gonna look mega. The FX5's new dual gain function is something new to an FX camera, but we did see it previously in the A7R6. It essentially is combining 2 different sensitivities to give you a cleaner image with more dynamic range. From our testing, it's around an extra stop in the shadows, and they are super clean. This mode is going to be fantastic for you to use when you've got a scene with a wide dynamic range, such as a nice wide where you have bright sun in the sky and then deep shadows cast from the sun. This can often be a challenging balance, and with this mode, you can essentially expose more for your highlights and then bring up your shadows in post, but have cleaner shadows than you would have with dual gain off. It does limit your maximum frame rates, increase the sensor's readout speed, and limits your ISO and EI range, but it can result in some brilliant imagery. This is a really fantastic addition, and it's great that you can choose between a nice fast readout speed in the camera's regular mode or a bit more dynamic range with the limitations we've just laid out. If you want to learn more about how this performs, check out our in-depth FX5 review. If you want to keep up with the latest and greatest kit, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you want to buy anything you see in this video, or you want to get your hands on the FX5 or any other kit here in the UK or across Europe, head over to cvp.com where our experienced team is waiting to help you. Up next is how the FX5 handles ISO. The FX3 features two different base ISOs, 800 and 12,800, whereas the FX5 now has three, 800, 4000 and 12,800 in RAW and S-Log3, or 320, 1600 and 5000 in S-Cinetone. This is great as it now means you have a nice middle base between 800 and 12,800 that is much easier to handle in situations when 800 isn't bright enough, but 12,800 is way too bright. Each base performs well, but as you step up the ISOs, we can see the image get a touch noisier each time. The 4000 ISO has a good texture to it though, without it being too chroma noise heavy. I actually think it may get used by people who want a bit more texture to their image, similar to how people have done that with the Venice. In the FX5, you can also control your noise reduction in both RAW and XAVC, whereas you couldn't with the FX3. This means you can decide on what balance of in-camera noise reduction and image quality you want. Having noise reduction in camera will save you time in post, but will give you less flexibility. Having no or minimal in-camera noise reduction will give you the ultimate image quality the camera can capture and most flexibility in post, but of course at the expense of render times and post-processing time. The FX5 has the same shooting modes as the FX3, including flexible ISO, which I know a lot of FX3 owners use a lot. However, the FX5 behaves a little bit differently to the FX3 in this mode. It actually works the same way as the FX6 does. So this means that unlike the FX3, where as you go through the ISO range, it automatically switches base ISOs in the background for you to give you the best performance, as Sony defines it, whereas in the FX5, as you go up and down ISO, the camera doesn't switch the base in the background. You still have to do that manually, which may trip some FX3 users up. One way to make this easier is to assign switching base ISO to a custom button, but it will take some time to get used to switching on the fly. I think Sony really needs to add a mode that behaves similarly to the FX3, as I think for run and gun filmmakers it would be a great addition. One of the big additions to the FX5 is its ability to record in Sony's brilliant X-OCN 16-bit RAW. This is a fantastic addition, but for FX3 owners moving up to this camera and wanting to take advantage of it, there are some things to know. X-OCN is Sony's 16-bit linear encoded RAW format, which you can find in the Burano and Venice cameras. The FX5 has three different versions of X-OCN to choose from: LT, C1 and C2. LT is the highest data rate but will give you the best image quality, and then C1 and C2 are more compressed versions which are actually new to the FX5. It's great you have options to choose from here. LT will be great for scenes or productions where you need the best image quality possible, at the expense of larger file sizes. And then C1 and C2 are good for productions where you still want raw control but can deal with more compression. The image quality of shooting X-OCN is fantastic. We've managed to capture some really nice images with it. The color this camera captures is also really nice. It's a great step up from the FX3. Recording X-OCN on the FX5 does have some limitations though, such as not being able to use the camera's variable frame rate mode, which we've already mentioned. You can only record it in Cine-EI mode, it's limited to certain sensor modes, and you can't do stuff like dual recording. However, the quality you can capture is excellent, so it's well worth these limitations if the production you are using on allows for it. If not, you've still got really good XAVC options to choose from, including a lot that are in the FX3. Once you hit post, X-OCN is really nice to handle. This is Pickup Jake, and there's actually a new version of Resolve that's just come out that does now read the X-OCN files out of the FX5. It's available to download now on the Blackmagic website. X-OCN ingests into Resolve in a bit of a weird way. Each clip has its own folder, so you have to select them all and then right-click and then add them into your project together. Otherwise, you'll get all the folders imported as well instead of just clips. You can then head to the color page in Resolve, and this is where the RAW control tab is. In here, you have loads of control. This is how I would set it up if you've never used a RAW format before. If you want to use the LUT we have used for our test footage, we are using the Diamore Daylight LUT, available for free on Sony's website, link to which is in the description. The FX5 has so much malleability to its image in RAW. You can really push and pull the image, especially the dual gain footage, which has so much information to play with. I'm really excited to see what people capture with this little camera. While the FX3 and FX5 share a good amount of similarities, they certainly are quite different cameras, and the FX5 may not work for every FX3 shooter's use case. Hopefully this video has helped highlight some of the major differences and changes with the FX5, but we are planning on doing more content around the FX5 soon, so let us know if you have any more questions about it compared to the FX3 down below. If you're still on the fence and want to check this camera out for yourself before pulling the trigger, please reach out to our fantastic demo team to arrange a demo in one of our UK or European showrooms. We should be getting our demo units in very soon. I hope this video has been helpful. Let us know what you think of the FX5 down in the comments below, and if you like the video, please give it a like and maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss out on our awesome upcoming content. And thank you so much for watching.